In April of 2023, I visited Cincinnati, Ohio for my best friend's bachelor party. It was a casual weekend, nothing crazy planned, just food, drinks, and a few group activities. One of the groomsmen booked an escape room downtown that was supposed to be next-level immersive. I don't usually go for those things, but I figured it was harmless fun. The place was in an old building near the riverfront, tucked between a shuttered pawn shop and a half-renovated theater. From the outside, it looked sketchy, but the guy running the front desk assured us it was one of their most popular rooms. The theme was the Forgotten Asylum. Pretty typical. Dim lights, fake blood, creepy props. We were told we'd be locked inside for 60 minutes and that actors might interact with us but wouldn't touch anyone. The rules were standard. Don't break props, don't tamper with cameras, and if you want to quit, use the safe word printed on the wall. There were 6 of us total. The employee walked us down a narrow hallway and closed the metal door behind us with a heavy clunk. Then the lights dimmed and a speaker crackled to life, setting the tone with distorted asylum moans and whispering voices. At first, it was exactly what we expected: rusted hospital beds, flickering bulbs, audio effects. We split up to look for clues. I wandered into a small room labeled Patient Records. There was a cabinet with locked drawers and a single bulb overhead. But what struck me was that there were no visible cameras. I figured they were hidden. Then I noticed something strange. Inside one of the drawers, instead of fake files or puzzles, there was a real photograph. Old, black and white, showing a man strapped to a gurney. His eyes were scratched out. On the back, someone had written Day 17, still watching. I thought it was a prop until I saw that the paper was brittle, the corners yellowed. It felt real. I brought it out to show the others, but as I stepped back into the main hallway, the door slammed shut behind me, hard. I tried opening it again. It was locked. I called out, no answer. I assumed it was part of the game and waited for someone to find the key or trigger the next scene. Then the lights went out completely. I stood in total darkness, phone useless, with no signal. I waited. 10 minutes passed. Then I started to hear shuffling, like someone moving around just outside the door. I called out again. No response. Then the shuffling stopped, and I heard breathing. Not mine, someone else's. Slow, shallow, just on the other side of the door. I backed away, heart racing. A minute later, the lights flickered back on. The door creaked open by itself, but the hallway wasn't the same. The fake asylum set was gone. The rusted props had been removed, and the hallway now looked real. The paint on the walls was peeling in long strips. The floor had actual stains, and the light fixtures were swinging slightly as if something had passed through moments before. I walked forward, thinking I'd somehow stumbled into a behind-the-scenes area. That's when I found the others. They were in a different room, huddled near the center, but they weren't talking. They weren't even looking at me, just staring at the floor, completely still. I stepped inside, confused, asking what was going on. No one responded. I walked up to Marcus, the best man, and touched his shoulder. He collapsed like a puppet. I screamed. The others didn't react. I turned him over, expecting a prank or some horrible joke, but his eyes were rolled back. No pulse. I shook the others, all unresponsive, all ice cold. Panic kicked in. I ran to the door and slammed on it, yelling the safe word over and over. Nothing happened. Then the intercom clicked on again, but this time it wasn't sound effects, it was a low, distorted voice. "You don't get to leave just yet, we haven't even started." Then silence. That's when the wall behind the gurney in the room began to slowly slide open, not theatrically, mechanically, like a hidden passage no one was supposed to find. I didn't want to go in, but I couldn't stay. I walked through the opening and found myself in a narrow concrete corridor. No lights, just the faint red glow of an exit sign at the far end. I ran. Halfway down the hall, I tripped over something. When I looked back, I saw a mannequin, lifeless, broken, but wearing Marcus's shirt. I kept running. I finally reached the door with the glowing sign. It didn't lead outside. It opened back into the same asylum room I started in, as if I'd never left. The others were standing again, smiling, expressionless, like nothing had happened. I backed away, too afraid to speak. The door behind me slammed shut. Then the timer above the wall beeped. 0000. A buzzer rang, the lights came on, and the employee from the front desk opened the door with a smile. Said we'd done great. that the game was over. The others were suddenly laughing, high-fiving each other, back to normal, like they had no memory of what I saw, of what happened in the hallway. I tried to talk to them. They looked at me like I was crazy. Said I'd wandered off for a while, but rejoined before the game ended. They all insisted nothing strange had happened. I left shaken, unsure of what was real. That night, as I unpacked, I found something in my hoodie pocket, the same black and white photo from earlier, except this time I was in it, strapped to the gurney, eyes scratched out. In October of 2022, my girlfriend and I took a weekend trip to Denver to visit her cousin Sam. We didn't have much of an itinerary, just wanted to relax and do something fun before winter set in. On a whim, Sam suggested we try an escape room that had just opened on the outskirts of town. It was called Mind Vault, and according to its website, it offered a fully AI-controlled horror experience with dynamic puzzles that changed in real time. The photos looked high-end, clean corridors, LED lighting, realistic sets. We booked a late-night slot for 3 people. When we arrived, the place was almost empty. Just a girl at the front desk and a quiet lobby with a few dimly lit couches. The lobby felt a little off, like it was too quiet, too still. The girl handed us waivers to sign and explained the rules. She said the room we'd be doing was called The Chair, and warned us that the game would include psychological elements and moments of isolation, but everything was perfectly safe. No actors, no touching. A standard safe word if we wanted to stop. We agreed and followed her through a hallway with numbered doors. Ours was at the very end, room 6. The inside was pitch black at first, then a soft red glow filled the space, revealing a large circular room. In the center was a metal chair bolted to the floor, surrounded by glass panels that formed 4 separate compartments, like individual cells, one for each player. The voice of the AI came through a ceiling speaker, polite but emotionless. It instructed us to each step into one of the glass sections. As soon as we did, the panels slid closed behind us and the lights flickered to a sickly green. That's when I noticed something odd. There were 4 compartments, but only 3 of us had entered the room. I glanced around, confused. The 4th compartment, directly across from mine, was filled with shadow. I couldn't see clearly, but it looked occupied, just barely. A silhouette, unmoving. At first, I thought maybe it was part of the game, a dummy or prop meant to throw us off, but as the game began, I started to doubt that. The puzzles were intense, more psychological than logical. Each of us had to solve riddles or press buttons in a certain sequence based on personal fears. The AI seemed to know things about us that we hadn't shared in the waiver. Sam was forced to relive a memory involving his younger brother's drowning, something he told me he hadn't spoken about in years. My girlfriend's section showed her images of her childhood bedroom after the fire. I was given a scenario where I had to choose between pressing a button labeled Confess or being locked in darkness indefinitely. It was immersive, deeply personal, and disturbingly accurate, but what truly disturbed me was the 4th compartment. It never lit up, never activated, but the silhouette inside was still there. I could see faint movement, barely perceptible, but definitely real. It never reacted to us, never tried to communicate, just sat there. Halfway through the game, Sam asked the AI about it. The voice paused before responding. 4 players detected. All sessions are balanced. We were silent. We hadn't mentioned 4 players in the booking. The receptionist had only handed out 3 waivers, but now we were being told the system recognized 4 people. I asked to end the game. My girlfriend backed me up. Sam, a little more skeptical, agreed. That's when the lights cut out. Total darkness. Then the sound of something metallic scraping along the glass. One of the compartments, mine, was unlocking. The panel slid open slowly, and the AI said, "Step forward." I refused. Instead, I waited, heart racing as the silence stretched on. The AI repeated the instruction, "Step forward." I turned and saw that my girlfriend's section was still locked, Sam's too. But the 4th compartment was open, and empty. The silhouette was gone. Panic set in. I stepped out of the glass chamber only to find that the room had changed. The floor was concrete now, stained and cracked. The lights were buzzing overhead, barely holding on. The sleek panels and tech were replaced by what looked like a gutted industrial space. My girlfriend and Sam were nowhere in sight. Then I heard it. Something breathing behind me. I turned fast, but no one was there. The voice came back through the speaker, but this time it wasn't the AI. It was distorted, lower, more human. You weren't supposed to look at him. I ran toward the only door I could find. It led to a hallway lined with mirrors. Each one reflected me, but in each I looked slightly off, eyes darker, posture twisted, smiling when I wasn't. I moved quickly, trying not to look. At the end of the hallway was another door, and as I grabbed the handle, I felt something brush past me. Cold, deliberate. I burst through into another room, this time back in the original circular layout. Sam and my girlfriend were standing there, glass panels open, looking confused. They claimed the lights had just flickered once, that I'd never left, that we finished the game and were waiting for me to exit my chamber. They didn't believe me when I told them about the hallway or the fourth player or the mirrors. We went back to the lobby. The receptionist smiled like nothing had happened and handed us our phones and belongings. I asked her again if there were ever supposed to be 4 players. She didn't answer. She just looked at me for a long moment and said, "You all made it out. That's what matters." We left in silence. That night, as I scrolled through my camera roll, I found a new photo I hadn't taken. A grainy, low-light shot of the escape room. In the reflection of the glass panel, I could see all 4 of us, but the 4th person was standing behind me, grinning. In January of 2023, I took a solo weekend trip to Asheville, North Carolina to clear my head after a difficult breakup. I didn't know anyone there, which was the point. I spent most of the first day wandering art galleries and coffee shops until I passed a sandwich board on the sidewalk that read, "Try the reset room, 30 minutes, no clocks, no clues, just escape." It was painted in black with no logo, no contact info, just an arrow pointing down a narrow alley between 2 brick buildings. I stood there staring at it longer than I should have. I wasn't really in the mood for games, but something about the wording stuck with me. No clocks, no clues. It sounded different, less theatrical, more cerebral. I followed the arrow. The alley ended at a plain grey door with a small keypad. I was about to turn back when the door clicked and creaked open by itself. I hesitated, thinking maybe someone inside had noticed me through a camera. A man in black stepped halfway into the doorway and simply said, "We're ready for you." I didn't sign anything, didn't pay. He didn't ask for my name. Just led me down a long windowless hallway and stopped at another door labeled Reset. The walls were soundproofed with padded foam, and there were no other people around. He handed me a blindfold and told me the rules. Once inside, the room would start. If I escaped, I'd be let out. If I didn't, it would reset. That was it. The door closed behind me. I took off the blindfold. The room was completely white. Floor, walls, ceiling, no furniture, no obvious exits. There was only a single overhead light that cast no shadows. I stood there for a while, waiting for something to begin. Nothing happened. Eventually I walked around, pressing the walls, checking for seams or hidden doors. After a few minutes, I noticed something odd. No matter how long I walked in one direction, I never reached a corner. The walls just stretched endlessly, without texture, without change. I turned around and walked back the way I came, but the entry door was gone. No trace of it, just the same smooth white surface. Then the light dimmed, not all at once, slowly, like a sunset happening indoors. As it faded, I began to notice marks on the floor, scuff lines, footprints, smudges, all clustered in one area where the floor looked slightly more worn. I knelt down to inspect it and saw a faint line like a seam forming a square panel. I pressed on it and felt something click beneath my palm. The light went out completely, pitch black, no sound, no countdown, just silence. I sat still, trying not to panic. A few minutes passed, or maybe an hour. Time felt elastic in that place. Then I heard something, a soft whirring, like gears turning behind the walls, and then my own voice, a recording. It was faint, but unmistakably mine. It was saying the exact words I had spoken when I first entered the room. I backed away quickly, feeling along the wall for orientation. The recording looped again, louder this time, and then I heard footsteps, multiple, slow, deliberate, circling. When the light finally returned, the room was changed. There were now 3 doors on 3 different walls, each identical, no markings, no handles. I tried pushing the first one, nothing. The second locked. When I touched the third, it opened effortlessly, but it led into the exact same room I had just left. White, empty, light above, no marks on the floor, clean. I stepped in cautiously. The door vanished behind me. This time there was a single chair in the center. Plain wood, no restraints, no carvings, just a chair. I didn't sit, I waited. Then a panel opened in the ceiling and a screen dropped down. It flickered to life, playing a video feed of me walking into the first room looking confused. Then it cut to a new angle, me curled up on the floor in the dark. Then another, me trying the doors, then one more, showing me entering this room just seconds ago. Except in the video, I sat in the chair and someone walked in behind me. I spun around, no one. But the chair was now facing the opposite direction. I ran to the wall, searching frantically for a seam, a panel, anything. Nothing opened. The screen went dark, then the light shut off again. This time I heard breathing, not close, distant, but getting louder, a low, slow inhale. Then a sharp, quick exhale, repeated, calm, rhythmic, getting closer. I pressed myself to the wall, clutching the floor, waiting for it to pass. Then the lights came on. I was back in the first room, the very first one. No doors, no chair, no panel, just white. And then a voice echoed overhead. Distorted, mechanical, not the man from before. Reset complete, awaiting next participant. I screamed. I pounded the walls. Nothing responded. Then I saw it, etched faintly into the floor near where I'd been standing. I've done this 12 times. Don't sit, don't speak, don't stop moving. And below that, carved more deeply in frantic lines, he watches what you choose, and then he becomes you. I never escaped the room, at least not the version of me that went in, because a few days later, someone logged into my email from a Denver IP address, booked another session, and replied to a message from my sister with one short line, "Let's do an escape room." I found the perfect place. Escape rooms are meant to test logic, not sanity, but sometimes behind the puzzles and props something real waits, watching, listening, learning, and once you're inside, it might not let you be the one who leaves. If these stories got under your skin, like share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because the next room you enter might not be a game.